say it's not okay. Everything, well, it's not okay. You're only to see with a mouth and lie.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Artists and Artists program at electricmoon.org. So happy that you guys are here tonight. So this show, we bring on musicians and artists. Sometimes we do live painting. We bring in songwriters. We talk about the creative process, our inspirations, why we do what we do. And tonight, we're very honored and very grateful to have Jordan Gruver and Chase Miller tonight. How are you guys? Welcome.
Doing well, doing well.
Really
Thank you
good.
so much for having us.
Thank
Very
you.
excited to be here.
Good evening. Are you guys holding up all right in all this rain? How do you feel about it?
Doing the best we can. I got caught in a little bit of a snowstorm on my way back from lunch today in Hollywood at my office. So that was
Really?
fun.
There was a little bit of snow in Hollywood?
There was, yeah, pretty crazy. It came out of
Wow.
nowhere, man. It was freezing, but
Really? So it was visibly coming down and picking up on the ground a bit?
yeah, it lasted about 30 seconds, went from a hail to a slight snow, but yeah,
Wow.
very unique
Crazy.
experience.
And it probably didn't stay on the ground for very long.
No, yeah.
Right on.
Uh-huh.
Well, good to see you guys. I know you guys will jump right in. I know you guys have a brand new single out right now, or Jordan, you do, I should say. And it's pretty exciting. I love it. I spent some time with it. We'll talk about it a little bit more later on my thoughts on it. But how did that, what's that song about? How did it come about? Where did you guys record it and all that stuff?
Yeah, so we recorded the album in September in Joshua Tree, and it's funny because the first single, Proximity, that we released was actually the song that was written the most recent up in the weeks leading up to the album. So we wrote that one a couple weeks before, when all of the other songs were written at least a few years really prior to that. Yeah. So pretty crazy that it kind of came to fruition that way. But yeah, we recorded the album then, and we're going to be dropping a couple singles from the album leading up until the album drops in late summer is really what we're targeting right now.
Amazing. So it's going to be a full length record.
Yeah. 11 songs slated right now.
Right.
We may kind of narrow that down a bit.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, you when you start with the process and you go into studio, like we went to Joshua Tree, Rancho de la Luna studio. It was a really, really great experience. I think we cut about 12 songs.
Yep.
And then 12 then became 11, and and 11 might become less. It's just as you throw the paint against the wall and you kind of see what sticks, and sometimes things just don't pan out with the raw materials that you have, and what you thought was something at one point morphs into something completely different. And we've already found that to be true with several of the songs. The songs have kind of, I think they take on a life of their own.
Yeah.
And some grow legs and some don't.
Yeah, and then you get into the sequencing and you think, okay, I can't find a spot for this song, or this one's not going into this. And my last record, I really thought in vinyl terms, because I was grateful enough to put it out on vinyl. And you think, the first portion, side A, and then the second portion, side B, like a pizza. Like, you don't have to eat it all at once. You can save it for later, and then how side A is going to roll into side B. So what's you guys were in Joshua Tree to record this one? What studio?
Yeah, it was the Rancho de la Luna studio. Dave Ketching, he's played with Eagles of Death Metal,
Wow, he
Queens of the
recorded
Stone
there.
Age. Yeah, he was there helping out the whole time. It was just a really cool vibe. It's just nestled up in the middle of the desert, so that in itself is very inspiring.
Yeah.
And just kind of pulled us into the experience.
It's not, if you've ever been into a professional studio, like, it's not a studio. It is a house.
Yeah.
It has been converted and morphed into a studio against its will.
Wow.
So it's just music in every corner of the place. Like, there's gear and recording equipment and microphones just bursting out of the seams of this small house.
Wow.
But I couldn't think of a better environment to be creative in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it most comfortable to be uncomfortable when recording, and just very staunch and no mess around, no couch, maybe a couch ways away or in another room for sure. So I like that idea. Is that the same studio where they do all the desert sessions
Yeah.
with Josh and all that from Queens of
Yeah.
Stone?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
I, oh, I'm sorry. I was
No,
gonna say,
go
yeah,
ahead.
a lot of famous people have recorded
Mhm.
there. They've done, Arctic Monkeys have done a record there.
Yeah.
Fighters.
With Josh from Queens, right? I think that's the one he produced.
Yes, and of course, so like it's a very tight knit music community there,
Yeah.
and just people from that scene just walk in the door randomly just to say hey, and it's because it's a small town, it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
exactly the same way it would be in any small town in
Right.
America. Your friends stop by to visit. It just so happens their friends are very talented musicians.
Yeah, and they'll hop in, they'll play on something. It's just a really collaborative and environment. It's pretty casual. Going into recording my first record, of course, there's nerves, like anything else for a brand new experience. And I couldn't have been more comfortable. It just kind of
Right.
brought out the creativity in all of us in a different way. And we had a absolutely killer drummer that we met for the first time during the session, Danny Frankel. Yeah, so he really just helped kind of change the vibe and really helped get us to where we're at now, where we're at the direction of the songs and a place where we're super happy with how they turned out.
Amazing. And Joshua Tree is such a spiritual, magical place. I've been here for over 10 years and I just finally visited Joshua Tree like this summer, which is ridiculous to think about. But I've often thought about bringing Electric Moon out to Joshua Tree in a studio and a house that you can rent and that kind of thing. So it's a magical, spiritual place. Of course, you have U2 of Legend and Queens of Stone Age and that sort of thing. So who produced that record then, guys? Who produced it?
Chase and I produced it along with our friend Grant Walker. He actually was the engineer, mixed the entire record. He is the man behind the sound. He did pretty much everything. So it was the team of the three of us, really. It's been since the beginning for this project. So co-produced by the three of us.
So they just kind of let you guys in the place and you guys kind of flew the ship, so to speak.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
They offer that. I mean, if you'd like to go into the studio and book time, if you're so fortunate, they would offer that service to folks. But we had a lot of prep work, and I think we had a pretty clear vision when we went into the studio
Great.
about what we wanted to do. And yeah, we just kind of got the keys to the kingdom, and fortunately, like I said, we have Grant, who is amazing and who knows how to work all the hardware.
All the things above
So we
our
could just
head.
play
Grant,
music.
he's a genius in his own right. And
Kind of like Mike, who we just
Yes.
met.
yes, yeah, exactly. We don't even ask questions. We just kind of give him the problem and leave it with him because we know he will always find a solution.
Isn't
So
that
we're lucky
beautiful?
to have
though?
him on the project.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, I love the idea of producing artists. And I learned recently that Rick Rubin, for instance, he doesn't twist any of the knobs. He doesn't touch the computer. He's just there to facilitate, to not sound generic, but encourage the artist and give an ear because he's got such an amazing ear. But I didn't really realize that he literally says, I don't touch any of that. I don't play an instrument. And that really floored me. But, he's got an ear for things and, arrangement and stuff like that. So that's pretty fascinating to have someone that can do that. Is that kind of similar to what he was doing for you guys, except he was hands-on?
Yeah, he was really hands-on. I want to say that, each of us, Chase, Grant, and myself all brought really different talents and strengths to the project.
Yeah.
And I think that just always helps, in any situation. And that really worked to our benefit because we were all kind of had different perspectives, where they're from a musical direction, we were more like avant-garde, more a little bit more on the conservative side from a production standpoint. We kind of had a mix of opinions, what that ended up being, meeting somewhere in the middle eventually. But that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We have three songwriters, so all three of us are. So, and all very different songwriters too, with very different styles. But I think that really helped to, one person would push it in one direction, and another would pull it in this direction. And of course, at the end of the day, it's Jordan's material. She's the artist. She's the genius behind the thing. So, we always defer to her and what she wants in terms of like the vision because she has a very clear vision of what she wants. It's not talking about an artist who goes in and just says, I have these songs, and I want somebody to help me shape this thing. It's when she brings it, it's 80% of the way there. We just have to push it the rest of the direction.
Great. Yeah, I think it's important I've never gone into a studio ever not prepared. Either the songs were well rehearsed on the road, so the band knew them. And when I step up to the microphone, it's like, okay, just hit record, and I want this in one take, maybe 2, 3 if we have to. But because time is money, obviously, and it costs a lot of money to record. So that's one of the reasons. But also, I never want to be seen as stumbling as a musician or an artist. Like, I don't like people witnessing me rehearse something or write something or start a painting. So if you're prepared, you get in the studio, you just get behind the mic and you just go for it. Is that when you go to do a vocal take, Jordan, do you try to purposely, because I think in that first take is like where the motive energy and strength and power and heart is. Do you try to capture it in one all the way through? What's your process on that?
Yeah, we recorded most of the songs live, actually, and it was just a 3-piece. So, for people who aren't familiar, Chase played pretty much every other string instrument on the entire record, and just helped a lot in just really the arrangements of the songs. And then so it was a live recording of me, Chase, and then the drummer Danny. So we just kind of fed off of each other's energy and fed off of each other's direction, and it flowed beautifully. We got 12 songs tracked in 4 days,
Awesome.
It's crazy. So that's exactly how it works. I kind of have my own process for how I approach vocals. I've always been a singer my whole life. Being a songwriter is something that's kind of come to fruition for me in the past couple of years. Okay. So I think I approach that more strongly than I would approach, a guitar take, anything instrumentally. Since that is kind of my wheelhouse. But yeah, I definitely think that's typically kind of how we approach it.
So it's kind of just capture it in one take all the way through.
Yeah. I want to say most of the songs we got in probably a couple takes, really. Great. Yeah, less than 5 for sure. You know.
Yeah. Well rehearsed.
Yeah, we tried to go in pretty tight.
Well, we were, but we, like we said, we brought in Danny, who was a local, who was there for 2 days, and he had some demos.
What did Danny do, Chase? What did Danny?
He played drums.
In all percussion. He just had this.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to even call him a drummer, because he really is a percussionist.
Yep.
And drums are just another instrument he plays. He really brought a very earthy, atmospheric kind of almost world music-esque kind of feel to a lot of the tracks.
Yeah, and very different sounding.
It's very different sounding. And so whenever he came in and we started playing, he had some rough demos and ideas, but we were sketching these things out on the fly, drawing the picture as you go, as you're walking down the street, and whatever happens towards the end, whatever you have once you're done writing is what's on the page, and I love tracking live. I think it really might be the only way to be that efficient in a studio. And I don't know. It gives you this amazing feel. You obviously sacrifice a little bit of what you can do in post because what you have to work with is what you have. But that's the way that music used to be recorded. So
Yeah.
I think we wanted to go for that authenticity too.
Exactly.
It just makes it like I wanted people to feel like they were in the room with us. It's a gradual build, and we might double vocals or add some more, overdub some other instruments over, but predominantly everything was live. And that's kind of how I wanted it to be, especially in sequencing from a storytelling perspective, but yeah, we were very fortunate to have Danny on board, and he's just incredibly talented and experienced. He worked with like Katie Lang to Fiona Apple to tons of just absolutely iconic people. So we were just very fortunate to have his direction and to have his just have his presence there for the record. Yeah.
And he loved my cooking. So
yeah,
so that was he went up a notch in my book.
That's true. Yeah. Chase made some gumbo one night and it's all about it. So I think that's when we sold.
Thanks for inviting me. I could have done, tambourine, little triangle.
Next record.
Just for the gumbo, Yeah. But next record, I'd be honored. But one thing I was noticing about the drums, and I was going to mention later with Danny, is that on Proximity, I almost heard like a Tom Waits vibe. Towards the end of the song, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And I also noted so it sounds like he's a pretty eclectic guy, and he knows his way around things. Because I was picking up a Tom Waits vibe, which is interesting. But also, it sounds like how did you guys record the drums? It sounds like almost in a very isolated room. Can you talk to us more about how the drums were recorded?
That's the funny part, actually. So everything about this room that we recorded in on paper would not actualize to producing the sound that it produced. Right. We were lucky enough to have Grant, who is a genius, like we talked about before in miking, and he's just very well educated in positioning. He had a plan routed and mapped out for essentially every single mic and different songs and different treatments. There was a tech there that helped us as well, who was just awesome. And then we had Dave, of course. But yeah, we had a different treatment of all different kinds of mics, just surrounding him, but all in one room.
But exactly. Sorry, I was gonna say, please. But to answer the question, no, there was no isolation of the drums. The drums were in the room with us at the same time. There was one live room, and that was that. And so whenever, like for instance, when we played Proximity, she was sitting at the piano recording vocals live. The take on that single is the final vocal. Yep. Live final piano, and the drums were in the same room. So you're getting a lot of drums in the vocal mic. You're just getting a lot of overall feel. The one thing that isolated was the guitar amp. So that's in a different room. Okay. So we were able to isolate that. Yep. But other than that, it's like she said, it's kind of inconceivable to get that kind of great, huge drum sound in and it's a small room too.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Yeah. That's a beauty of performing all together too, it's like you go in the studio, it's like, oh, I want to sound like us, like the band, like people are there and feeling it. So, it sounds like you guys took a great approach. I'm happy to hear that. Wonderful. Did you guys cut to tape by any chance?
I'm sorry?
Did you guys cut to tape? Analog tape by any chance?
It's digital.
No, just digital recording.
I think they did have tape machines there though, but nobody would have known how to manipulate those.
No.
Yeah, that's an intense process.
Oh yeah, big time.
That's really intense.
That's a dream. That's a dream of mine. I would love to record a record of material on tape. I think that would be to go in. That's obviously, speaking of how music used to be recorded, you have to go in completely rehearsed, utterly, fully rehearsed. Everything has to be perfect. Every note has to line up, or every mistake has to sound intentional. And you go in and
cover it up well.
Yeah, or cover it up well. And you go, and when you go in, there is no substitute. It sounds, you can always tell.
Yeah. And the analog, I did my second record, we did it through Pro Tools, and then we ran it through tape.
Mhm.
So it kind of gives you that analog kind of sound, a little more gritty. And that was another thing I heard. Were you playing an upright piano?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it because I can hear. That's what I love about Hotel Cafe's upright, is it's just so real. Like
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan. I'll practice on a keyboard, but performance wise, man, it's just an upright. It's got such a warm, charming, raw vibe to it that I don't think you can capture on any other kind of piano. I mean, it depends on the song, but I could tell it was an upright. It sounds great.
Yeah, especially, the piano that they have in the studio there, it has a very distinct sound across all of the records it's been recorded on, obviously. Like it has kind of a deep, muddy, but kind of sound to it, which that's my speed. That's what I love, that kind of sound, that kind of depth that it brings to the
Yeah.
songs. But yeah, it was just fantastic in person. It all really blended
Great.
well.
Now, how'd you guys mic the upright?
Man, I don't remember what
was-
he used for that.
So we had two condensers going down onto the soundboard, and then a third vocal mic. So a lot of the piano that you're getting is actually coming through the vocal mic.
Yeah.
And so
Beautiful.
you got
Okay.
three mics, all there, and we got a really nice
Yeah.
piano sound. And Jordan is modest, but she's a great piano player.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Agreed.
very, very good piano player. So we
I
got
could even hear the
great
hammers.
performance.
I
I
could hear
was-
the hammers here and there, and I was like,
Yes,
oh, I
you
love
can hear
that.
the pedal, you can hear I
Love it,
love
love
that,
it.
just
Yeah.
authentic sound, feel. Yeah.
I
Of-
think, a lot of times with modern records and pop music, I mean, I'm not even gonna mention auto-tune because why even go there? But it's just like the songs, if it's too produced, it just sucks the life out of it. It sucks the emotive energy out of it. And actually on my last record I did Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball. Believe it or not.
Oh, nice.
But
Yeah.
the song itself, and we stripped it back, and because I think she's very emotive in that song, and the lyrics are very pretty heavy, and the song is huge. So we stripped it all down. I don't know if you guys heard it, but then I went back to listen to her original version again, and it's just so shiny, and it just sucks the emotive energy out of it. And I think Miley's a hell of a singer. I don't think she was quite as developed as she is now back then, but that song is just so great. But if you put so much stuff on it, it just the heart just goes out the window, and it just gets sucked out.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if the bones are there, if the song has a great structure and bass to it already, lyrically, just instrumentally, vocally, whatever, it distracts from that,
Right.
and you really want to make sure that stands out, that shines, whatever the artistic pieces that you really want people to hear, initially. So
Yeah, if you can strip it back, I think I mean, I always write with one guitar as raw as possible, or piano, and if you've got something there, you're gonna be okay no matter what. But it always starts with the song, and I think a lot of people think, oh, we'll get it in post, or we'll get it in overdubs. And it's
Right.
like, no, make sure that song can stand upright in a large or small room with just a microphone and a guitar or piano, and that's it. And if it can stand in that, then you've really got something, I think.
absolutely, totally agree.
Talk to me about your guys' songwriting. We'll start with you, Jordan. What's your songwriting process like? How do you start? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'll typically find a chord progression, and then I'll fall into a verse, and then I really write choruses last. That's kind of,
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit backwards. That's typically, I mean, there's been some where it'll stick out to me, but really I when I have a solid verse, an initial kind of structure and tune, I like to build and mess around with harmonies on the chorus from there. That's typically my approach, I'd write musically, and then kind of take it from there, vocally, lyrically. Sometimes, I'll have lyrics and I'll have a little tune in my head, then I'll back into the chord progression, the structure. But especially with piano, since that's, what I've been, what I basically, since I was a child, was raised playing and singing. So I feel so comfortable writing on piano. I'll always start out with chords and just kind of take the inspiration from there.
So it's mostly piano versus guitar that you write on, typically.
It's about split. I go through phases, I'll be all in on piano. I'll write 3 or 4 songs, and then, I'll go on to guitar, and then I kind of forget about piano for a while. I kind of go up and down, back and forth between the two, and just kind of fluctuate. But yeah, I think Chase and I, when we'll write stuff together occasionally like that, we'll both start out on guitar, and then adapt as necessary, to piano or whatever we need to do from there. But
And the interesting thing about writing on piano is if it becomes a guitar song, usually the guitar becomes very interesting, and you're like, oh wow, that's very interesting. It must have been written on piano,
right.
I mean. And I find that actually with the Killers a lot, where Brandon Flowers will write a lot on piano, and then it becomes a guitar song, and it's really like Mr. Brightside, I think it was piano, and it's very interesting. I don't know if you guys have ever really dissected that song. So when you write on piano, it's going to make it a little bit more interesting, I think, typically.
Yeah. Just because I'm a more competent piano player, and I feel comfortable on piano, and that's where I started writing songs. When I really started to get into songwriting, and when I was back in Phoenix, my parents have basically a baby grand in the hallway of their home, my childhood home that they've been living in for almost 30 years now. And so, it's in this hall that has this reverb and this beautiful echo to it. And I just, that's where I feel like I get my greatest ideas and just inspiration, is sitting there late at night, having just the room, the ambient sound fill the room. And I really have that's where I wrote Proximity, actually. Just sitting there one night, and I'll sit there for hours and just play and play and play.
I'm picturing little Jordan with her hands not able to quite get up there.
Yeah, exactly.
How about you, Jordan? What's your process like?
Well, me personally, like whenever I write my own music, it's usually lyrics first, and they're usually a verse. It's usually a verse.
Okay.
Hooks very much elude me often, so I definitely have songs that have hooks in them, but mostly it's verse, and it usually starts with lyrics, and then and then I'll sit down with the guitar, and then I'll come up with a melody that sort of just fits. And and sometimes, like, if you sit there for a while and you're playing on the guitar, and it just, you can't find the music to fit the words, I think sometimes it's just, you put it down and you pick it back up later. And then sometimes you sit down and then it's always immediate. It's like the song just writes itself. And I guess they say, like, you can't always count on that kind of inspiration to be able to write, but that's usually where, when I'll go into a songwriting. I usually don't try to write unless I feel inspired.
Okay. So you're lyric first. Very interesting.
Lyrics first, music second, typically.
Wow, very interesting. Yeah, I'll typically write and do kind of a brainstorm, and I actually like to find the hook first and a catchy title to build. I call it the meat and potatoes of the song. Mm-hmm. So I feel if I have like a big chorus of where I want it to be, or a small chorus that's really melodic, and then I kind of build from there. So I develop it from almost like a title first, and then I guess that might be kind of backwards, and then I develop the verses from there, and then I kind of put it all together. But typically it's always lyric first.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes for myself, like it's that way too. Sometimes it'll be a title, like a concept, and then you create the painting around the concept.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of my way, I guess. It's kind of formulating one idea or several ideas just based on a title. Just kind of building around that and building the song up and getting out what you feel. But I love to hear how people write and their different methods.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And Chase and I are kind of the same, where I have like a running notes list of
Yeah.
just all of this random shit on one kind of page. And Chase is even more so in that way than I am, of just like one long, never ending page of just
isolated thoughts,
yeah,
like random
things.
thoughts that have
They'll hit you at random times.
Yeah, that have no connection with one another.
Mhm.
And then a lot of times, yeah.
That's the biggest thing, is just continuously write. I remember writing with Barbarian Overlords, and we're working on a riff, and like, all right, let's write a song. I'm like, okay, let's try. And I was just thumbing through my notebook on stuff, and I found a painting a sketch that I had done of a painting that I wanted to do of someone like grabbing hold of the moon, and it was me and Topanga, and I said, well, hang me from the moon. Not as in hang me, but like grabbing onto the moon. And then the riff came around. It's like, hang me from the moon. And there it was. So it's like, how many times has that happened to you guys where the song is just immediate within a couple minutes? You guys have an instance of when that's happened?
Yeah, on occasion, I'll get a melody in my head, and then I'll record it in my notes I'll be driving and be like, da 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 da, like whatever it is, and I'll come back on it, and then I'll put words to it and back into it that way. Or an idea will hit me actually kind of in the middle of the night a lot of the times. Like I'll pull my phone out, and every single time I'm like, oh, just wait till the morning, you'll remember it. Never do. You need to take advantage of that moment, take the 5 seconds, write it down. But yeah, that's typically how it comes to me.
It's a blessing when it happens. It's happened to me a couple times in my life. I remember one time, my buddy GK, we were writing for an ArthurAutumn record, and he said, why don't you try this, see what you think. And literally, by the time he was done playing his ideas of a verse, chorus, bridge, and all that, the song was there in like 3 minutes. It was unbelievable. Of course, you go back, you fine-tune the lyric, and you fine-tune it, but the basics of the song, by the time he was done with those 3 minutes of that song, we looked at each other like, what just happened? Oh my God. Of course we went back and fine-tuned it, but it's a remarkable moment. I always picture that I think as songwriters and artists, sometimes we're just conduits to things that are passing through, and we just get to be lucky enough to be the receiver of that song. And it was just looking for a vessel to maybe find a home in, and moments like that are just they're incredible. They're rare. They don't always happen that way, but it's pretty amazing when it happens.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's no better feeling than, feeling like you finally get it. You're trying to figure something out. You've been working on it for a little bit, and then it just clicks and it flows and you're done. And, you sit on it after, and it's a high almost, it is because it's a creative outlet where you feel like you're finally able to articulate whatever you've been trying to, through music. It's
like just something floats through, and you hope that you can just grab hold and ride the wave.
It's like breathing a sigh of relief sometimes too.
Yeah.
It's like holding your breath and then taking a big breath afterwards. It really, because just to have it done and have it out, because I think, and I'm not saying this from personal experience, maybe a little bit, but like sometimes creativity can be like a compulsion. And you have to do it, otherwise you feel you just don't feel right.
Yeah.
And I like this thing, like it's inside of you, and it has to get out in some form or fashion. And it's cathartic when it does.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're very, very lucky to be artists and creative people, especially through what the world's going through the pandemic, and I could just go into a room and try and write a song, or paint through the night, or to process the feelings that we were going through, the world. So we're very lucky, and that's why I'm so fortunate and grateful to work with these kids to make sure that hey guys, once you get this guitar and you learn a couple chords and you get a notebook, that can be your world. It'll be your best friend, and it can give you an outlet to process the feelings that you have. My heart goes out to people that don't have those resources or those talents or those gifts. It can be pretty rough. So we're pretty grateful to have these outlets, I think, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys got a song prepared? What do you guys want to play? What's up with that?
We do. We're going to play the single for you, Proximity, a guitar version, kind of,
A little different.
yeah, kind of alluded to that a little earlier, and just different versions adapted. Obviously, this song was originally written and recorded on piano, the piano version. So
Yeah.
this is a new version we're working out for a couple upcoming performances. So we thought we'd do an acoustic version for you guys.
I think we'd love to hear it.
Awesome.
It'd be amazing. And what kind of guitars are we playing there, guys? What are those? Yeah.
I have the Fender Malibu small body right here. Yep.
What do you got there, Chase? What's your tool?
This is my Martin. This is my primary acoustic. I play it live every time I play live. So
It always sounds beautiful too.
well, thank you.
All right.
All right.
Proximity. Late nights, brain still in a fog, and I haven't slept in a week. It's obvious how this is gonna go, but I'm trapped in the hierarchy. They say proximity is power, but it's bringing me to my knees. I don't know anything at all, can't seem to focus on anything. Baby, in another world. But right now I'm imagining things. Orange sky's my reflection, and your eyes always were an anomaly. I want so much better for you. Logic has no place with you and me. They say proximity is power, but it's bringing me to my knees. I don't know anything at all, can't seem to focus on anything. Baby, in another world. Right now I'm imagining things. Oh, the same, and I kinda miss you, and the way we soared through our non-existent issues. Ooh. baby in another world.
Beautiful.
Thank
Well
you.
done. Well done. How
Voice
does
is
it,
a little scratchy tonight.
I couldn't tell. How does it feel on guitar? How does it feel to do that one on guitar?
Oh, good. Yeah. I like I love the acoustic vibe of it. Just kind of the breakdown. Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels
We
good.
like it. We're still working through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And trying to figure it out. Because normally, like you said, it's like it's piano, and then I'll play electric guitar.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, and you, because it's a very spacey song.
Yeah.
So, what you kind of do on the electric guitar, very minimal playing,
Yeah.
Same thing on the piano. You
Right.
can play a more minimal part and it carries a lot of weight and it carries you forward. Whereas
Yeah.
with an acoustic guitar, you don't have that kind of sustain. So you have to
Right.
figure out a way to work around it. And
Mhm.
that's always a lot of fun.
Yeah. Kind of gives it more
challenge.
room to breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like we talked about earlier, it's a great song, so it just stands on its own. You don't need anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
play the tune, sing the melodies, and that's that. Talk to me about some of your biggest inspirations as artist wise, like singer wise, who inspires you the most? Who's somebody that you really admire?
Yeah. For me, I mean, it's Joni Mitchell, Nora Jones,
I
my
heard
whole
Nora
life,
Jones.
Nora Jones. Yeah. And Phoebe Bridgers, of course, from a modern, current
Yeah.
day perspective. But those are my main inspirations. Yeah. And the list goes on and on and on. It's always hard to just narrow to a few, of course. I like all kinds of music, from classical to hip hop to all across the board. Vintage, old jazz, Nat King Cole, back, just all kinds of stuff. So I really have a broad, yeah.
I think that's the best way to be, is just to pull from the hip hop world and pull from the jazz world, pull from
Yeah.
the blues world, pull from, wherever. I think the more, it's almost like doing your homework or doing your research, and then it's like osmosis, where it's like you got a little James Brown in you, and you got a little Rufus Wainwright in you, maybe a little Tori Amos, and just pull from all those people, Andre 3000, whoever it is, Chuck D, and then just kind of, then you create your own. It comes through the filter, almost like osmosis anyway. But I think that's the best way to be, man. I think it's the only way to be as an artist, is just to kind of listen a lot and research a lot and pay attention. And I couldn't see your hands on the chords, but to watch the chords too. But Chase, how about you? Who really moves you?
I'm the same way, I think. I listen to everything in a way, always have. I mean, my favorite artists, like I love Bruce Springsteen. Always, he's my number one favorite artist.
We talked about that.
I grew up on country music, so I'm very, very, very steeped in that. It's kind of a big part of who I am. So not always does it come across in like what I do, but that's something, and that covers, like, I couldn't even begin to start listing all the artists that have influenced me in that genre. But favorite song, I guess I'll name one. Favorite songwriter is Townes Van Zandt, which I would consider country, even though it's not, it's not always country.
Yeah, kind of like Graham Parsons, where it's kind of like country but kind of not.
Oh yeah,
Right.
I love Graham Parsons too.
I love Graham too. Yeah, Townes is a great writer, and that's the biggest thing I think people maybe forget about country music, and that's why it was so wonderful to celebrate Dolly and Patsy. I love Patsy so much, and Loretta, is because the songs are just so good, and the storytelling, and I think that sometimes gets lost with songwriters. And like, go back and study those, even if you're not into country. You listen to like one of those Loretta songs or early Dolly Parton songs, and it's like textbook songwriting. It's just all right there.
I think Jordan has that. I think every one of her songs tells a story.
Yeah, good.
And so, like, I'm always been very privileged to be associated privileged to be working on these songs, because they really are great stories. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm drawn to them so much.
Yeah.
You know, great storytelling in a time where, you know, maybe some songs don't have as much life in them.
Yeah. I would have to say the same. You know, Chase is a great songwriter in his own right. And the next goal of our kind of group, Grant, Chase, and I, is to push his stuff out there and really to work on his record and get his music out there.
Yeah, you're next.
Yes.
Oh, no, it's not about me. This is about Jordan.
No.
Really true.
And talk to us about what you played on the record exactly, Chase, on Jordan's stuff.
So I played guitar, I played bass. We played, I used a lot of baritone guitar on this record, which was really, really interesting. And I think we really found, like, Proximity, for instance, the electric on that is a baritone guitar. It's not a traditional electric. So I think we got this kind of really nice, almost synthy, deep, rich sound out of it.
Yeah.
And so, we did that. I played ukulele on one song.
Yeah, that's a fan favorite.
That was a fan favorite.
Great.
Yeah.
Can you guys give us an overall vibe of the record as far as instrumentation and then an overall scope? Jordan, I mean, I think when you write your first record, it takes you 20 years to write it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Such a way. So talk to us a little bit about an overall scope of the record, instrumentation, and kind of what you had in your heart and it sounds like Chase says you're very prepared with a vision. Talk to us about your vision for this first record.
Yeah, so I think just as like a little preamble into it, I felt as though kind of going into recording the record, I wanted each song, like any record, has its own vibe, and I had a different vision for it all. And what I was kind of struggling with in the beginning is how can we establish a cohesiveness amongst all of these songs, and do that by the sequencing, by the instrumentation. What direction can we take these in to really authentically do that, and tie everything together? And I think that we were able to do that in a beautiful way. You know, the drums, as from the first single, like you mentioned earlier, have a very distinct sound, and that's going to be heard obviously throughout the record. And there's some, I would say there's a few upbeat, kind of almost neo soul type vibe songs. Some lean a little bit more into the jazz direction. Some are more, singer songwriter, bare bones storytelling, kind of pretty simple instrumentally because they're more complex lyrically. So it's a good mix, a good assortment.
Some are a little folky.
Yep, a little more folk, indie folk vibe kind of thing. I would say general direction, neo soul meets indie folk meets kind of jazz inspired. You know,
it's hard to say. It's just Jordan's personality. Like I said, it's like, well, what's the genre? It's like it's Jordan. I don't know how else to say it. You know, it's just like it's the, like you say, the amalgamation of all these influences that are put through the filter of someone's life experience.
Yeah, and like I think we talked early on, or we texted about this, Chase. I think you guys have a really nice, excuse me, trying to get the throat ready. You guys have a real nice modern touch to it too. It's not too folky or too, it's kind of a little bit more down the center. You guys have a little bit of a mixture of both, which I think is what, one of the things that Norah Jones does so well.
Absolutely.
So you guys have a nice blend.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Now with the ukulele, is it just straight up vocal and ukulele, or what's the scoop on that one?
It's a song called Neither Do You. It's pretty broken down. It's one of our favorites, actually. And Chase plays the ukulele. I play acoustic guitar. On the record, it's funny because that's the probably least finished song as of now. It needs the most work. We recorded it live as well, but we're still kind of bouncing around some ideas with that one, and whether we want to keep it a little bit more on the bare bones side or add a little bit more drum machine sounds and some
Yeah.
other things to it with a more complex kind of sound to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's on the surface, a song like that. That's what we were talking about at the top of the interview. Songs take on a life of their own, and you have this idea of what you think they're going to be before you go into the studio and before you start recording, and they go somewhere else. They grow
Right.
and they move out. And I think that's kind of one of those songs where on the surface it begs you to play it straight, play it this way. But then when you sit with it for a while and you're like, but I see so much more potential for it, that it could go so much further beyond what it is right now. And we can always strip it back and make it what it was at its core.
Yeah.
But give it the chance to breathe and kind of go and take on that life of its own.
Yeah. I think sometimes we just have to listen to the song and let it tell us where it wants to go. Like, even for this one, I'm gonna play. I could not find the chorus. I had this little charming little verse. I'm just like, I cannot find the chorus. And I was talking to Nick, my buddy who works with the kids with me, and I was telling him about the kids song we're working on, and he goes, well, just let it happen. And I'm like, yeah, I should. And so I went back home and I just let it just happen. The melody told me where to put my hands and just let it be, and not overthink it and not, try to force something into it. Just let it flow. So I think we have to listen to the songs and let them kind of guide us where we should take them or how to record them too, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think I'll play a little tune. You guys want to hear a little song?
Sure. What you got?
Yeah.
You guys know that I work with kids with Electric Moon Foundation, obviously, and we work at Alexander House. We're putting together spring programs. What we do is we get the kids together, we write songs together, they contribute lyrics and all that. So you'll hear some kind of kids lyrics in here, but at the same time, my approach when I do this is I kind of approach it as like, this could be an adult song too, and if I could play it a little more mellow or change the lyrics slightly. But I think that the most complicated thing, guys, is to write a kid's song for kids. If you guys ever tried it, it's the most challenging thing as a songwriter.
I've always said that I think the hardest thing to do, and the sort of, if you meet somebody who can do this, then they're a great songwriter, is to be funny in a song, legitimately funny, a song that makes you laugh. That's difficult. So I
fantasize about having a conversation with Paul McCartney and say, yeah, Paul, I find it to be the hardest thing to write a kid's song, and just have him be like, oh yeah, absolutely. It's because the kids that I work with, they've been through a lot in their lives, trauma and abandonment and heartache and unfortunately a lot of terrible things. So they're very smart, and you can't be singing, I got a little red wagon, because they're gonna smell that and they're like, dude, get out of here, clown.
Right.
They're so smart. So it's like you have to find a balance of something that they're gonna sing along with, something that is gonna touch their heart, and something that's not too kid-like and not too adult-like. So it's very difficult. But anyway, I'll play this and you guys can tell me what you think. But this is a little swing at this project I've been doing that's just quite a challenge. Like the big sun inside your heart, I knew we'd be friends right from the start. And if your days get cloudy, there I'll be, there I'll be, there I'll be, and there I'll be when you go. There I'll be when you go. There I'll be when the skies get cold and gray. And there I'll be when you go. There I'll be when you go. There I'll be when the sun comes out again. Around here, we ain't got no haters, only love, only love. And there I'll be when you go, there I'll be when you go, there I'll be when the skies get cold and gray. And there I'll be when you grow, there I'll be when you grow, there I'll be when the sun comes out again. And there I'll be, there I'll be. Here on Honey Plan, we don't shout or fight. When we get lost, well, we always find a light. 'Cause I know how you're feeling every day. You're not alone, you're not alone. 'Cause there I'll be when you go, there I'll be when you go, there I'll be when the skies get cold and gray. And there I'll be when you go, there I'll be when you go, there I'll be when the sun comes out again. And there I'll be, 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 there I'll be.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful song.
It's such
It really
a catchy
is.
chorus. I felt myself having the
Yes.
urge of
I was about to
harmonizing.
say, yeah, exactly.
It's like,
We could do that. We want to get the
Yeah.
kids in to record it, but I mean,
Love
when
it.
we're doing it with the kids, it's a little bit more. There I'll be when you go. There I'll be when you know. There I'll be when the skies get cold and gray. And there I'll be when you go. There I'll be when you go. There I'll be when the sun comes out again. There I'll be, there I'll be. Anyway, these kids.
nice. Yeah, great sing-along song. Yeah, I
Mhm.
love it. It's very good.
Thanks so much for listening to that.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys. But yeah, it's a challenging thing as a songwriter to write a song for kids, because especially these kids, because they're so smart. You know, they just don't mess around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I can only
I
imagine.
know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, we're with them an hour each session, and we have their undivided attention for about 20-25 minutes. After that, it's like
Off
ants
the
and
rails.
pants.
Yeah.
They're bouncing off the walls. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge to kind of keep them engaged and find songwriting activities, and then we're learning as we go along. So it's I'm grateful to do the work. The amazing kids at Alexander House, for sure.
Well,
So
they're
what do you guys have? What do you guys have coming up? You guys have some shows coming up? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, we got a couple things. We're playing on April 25th at Bar
Bar Lubitsch.
Lubitsch. Yeah.
Ooh, great.
Yep. And
Then we have another show, Silver Lake Lounge.
Silver Lake
in
Lounge.
May, and then
Mhm.
we're kind of peppering in a few little things in between
Great.
there and in March. And of course, we're also going to be taking trips to Arizona to keep working and finishing the record. And we got two, just came back from a session there where we sort of put
Great.
the touches on
Mhm.
two singles. Oh, speaking of instrumentation, we have violin on one of the songs, a very, very
Yes.
talented friend of
Yes.
ours, who came in and donated her time, also another great songwriter.
Mhm.
And came and played
Great.
violin on a song. So we actually have the two next singles that are ready to be mixed and
Mhm.
start the release
Great.
process. So
Yeah,
also
we're-
really excited about that.
Yeah.
So you guys are wrapping it up in Phoenix, finishing it there.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Our friend Grant, he has a studio there. And so we're finalizing anything, any overdubs, vocal doubling, anything like that.
Great.
And honestly, the big thing that we're doing is going through takes and making sure, from the live recordings, which we've done for a lot of the songs, but there's still a couple that we just kind of need to finalize the instrumentation and the different recordings, since we did have a couple different versions of it, and just kind of, yeah.
Now, are you guys gonna have somebody separate mix? I've always found it's good to have fresh ears. Are you guys mixing it quite a bit? Are you guys having, hiring someone out to kind of give it a good mix, or what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, well, Grant is doing the mixing. The mastering is being done by an outside source, not So Brian.
Brian Lucy. And he did. We were really happy with the work that he did on proximity, and so he'll probably get the rest of the record as well
For the
mastering. But no, Grant is the person who does the mix, and of
All
course,
the mixing.
well, we technically speaking, we're doing the mixing because we're
Sure.
sitting down, listening. We're obviously in constant communication and giving feedback and notes. But no, we're not hiring a separate mixing engineer.
Gotcha. My recommendation, and I'd almost be happy to do it, is just to get fresh ears on after you guys get it where you want it. Because it sounds like you guys are very hands-on, as I am. I'm very particular. But once you guys get it to where you want it, then pass it over to me or somebody else, and just have them just kind of like, because it's a fresh ears, because you guys have sat with it for a year or whatever. So it might be a good thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
agree.
Never hurts to
agree.
get, new ears, new perspectives, suggestions, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
I
You
agree.
guys have a mastering engineer, by the way? Planned yet?
Yeah. Brian Lucy is the mastering engineer that we chose for proximity,
for proximity
and
and-
then probably for the rest of the record as well. Just to establish, obviously each person kind of has their own vibe, their own approach to mastering. And we really identified with his process. And, he's worked with a lot of incredible musicians, he's just got an incredible kind of repertoire of people he's worked
Absolutely.
with.
I mean, he was nominated for a couple Grammys this year, and he was also just couldn't be more accessible and honestly, it's like, whenever you pass something off to mastering for anyone who knows or anybody who records music, you get revisions, a certain number of revisions back. We didn't have to use any.
We
just
sent it back and we're like, this is great. No notes.
Mastering is very, very important. I think a lot of people forget about that, and it's because it kind of gives you that overall tone of the record. It really ties it in. I've been grateful to work with Gavin Lurson, who's done. Wow, he did the Overlords too. So he's mastered a whole handful of records, but it's an important gig. It's just like the producer, it's such, because I think as artists we're just putting ourselves on the line. We're bearing, even just performing that song, we're raw. It's such a delicate thing as a producer. To find the right producer and the right person to master the record, I think is just crucial. It sounds like you guys have a wonderful team around you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, so you guys have is that a Songwriters in the Round, the Bar Libbets show? Is that any chance?
No, it's
it's just kind of a showcase with a couple other bands. Art, Art. He's gonna be his
Sartara.
His group's gonna play. He's gonna be one of the bands there.
Great.
Yep.
So you're like, it's just kind of a
Scott of the Andes.
Local LA folks.
Great. What night is that?
That's the 25th of April.
It's the 25th of April.
Yeah. And then the Silver Lake Lounge shows in May.
Great. Who put the Bar Libbets show together? Who's the man behind that, or woman?
It was Art, and we kind of all got together, talked to and then brought Scott of the Andes in, and
awesome.
James. There's a couple other people on the bill, really talented other people as well. So we're stoked to be part of it.
A lot of Sunday night reviewers, which is beautiful to see.
Yes, exactly. It's a great community that you built.
It's a great community.
We all built it together.
It's been great to be a part of it, and just kind of have a smaller community within LA. It's obviously hard to find, especially just such a big city, moving here for the first time and really find your group. And get to know people in the scene around you. So
Yeah, it's important. I mean, I think when I first moved here, I was so used to Detroit where, we went to each other's shows and we bought each other's records and sometimes we dated each other, whatever it was, but we were
right.
supportive and we were one together. And then when I moved out here, I remember doing a show and for some reason, I forgot my guitar cord and I asked the guy that played before me, I said, "Hey man, can I borrow your guitar cord?" And he goes, "Nope, I gotta go." And I was like, whoa, it was such a shock. And
Yeah.
I think when you experience like that, you don't experience something like that, you don't want anyone else to feel that. So I said, once I get a little clout, I'm going to do something to change that and build a community of people that care about one another and, do these things and perform with one another. So I'm grateful to do it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks Hotel Cafe for the chance.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
it's so important. And the fact that you've kind of just started, from the beginning and built the community that it is today, it's really impressive. And, everyone's grateful, I'm sure, to have that smaller knit community of people who are really supportive of each other.
Well, I love you guys when you guys perform. It's amazing. Everybody does. You guys always bring something special. We'll miss you March 12th as we honor Nirvana.
Yeah. Sorry to miss it, but
Yeah.
hope to make the next one. And I'm sure it'll be a great
Absolutely.
show.
Yeah. And well, yeah, absolutely. I hope it's really, really good and really, really want to catch the next one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe next time around.
Definitely.
But-
Definitely.
I think it's about 8 o'clock, just a bit over, but I want to thank you guys for being on the Artist Show. For those who miss it, remind them that the shows will be posted up at our Electric Moon podcast soon. You can catch other episodes for those of you who are watching. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We can't hear any clapping, but let's hear it for Jordan and Chase.
But we know there's a giant.
Awkward. Like we want to say thank you guys. Everyone put your hands together and it's like crickets. But
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
we're huge fans over here. I'm a huge fan, and all the best with the record. Keep us posted. Sounds you rattle off those shows one more time for the people listening.
Yeah, April 25th, Bar Lubitsch, and then in May. I don't know if we have a date set. Do we have a date set?
I think it's May 20th. But
Great.
check Jordan's artist page.
Yes, my
on
Instagram at
and
Jordan Gruver, Gruver.
Upcoming shows will all be posted there.
Yep.
Got
Yeah.
it. And maybe I think you guys are gonna be out of town, but we got the Senate Review celebrating the music of Nirvana. It's gonna be fun to benefit Electric Moon Foundation, our work with these amazing kids and get them instruments and music lessons and programs that can change their life and give them an outlet to feel good about themselves and in turn write songs and make others feel good, which is kind of what we did tonight. So thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good rest of your
All
evening.
right. Good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.